Hey, welcome to the Virtually Speaking podcast, VMware Explore 2025 coverage. It's day 3. We have been having some great conversations with lots of customers, really good stories. We've been talking to executives, getting all the key announcements, but man, it's always fun to have some good partners on to actually hear a little bit more detail about some of these announcements, John.
It is, and as much as we talk about the software, it's the hardware looks so cool. It really does. The fans and the cooling pipes and all the fun stuff and the liquid cooling and all this stuff. So I want to talk some hardware, Pete.
Oh, you're a server hugger. I know you are, my friend. And there are groups for that. But don't worry about it, because today you're going to get to nerd out. We're going to talk a little bit of hardware. Joining us, from AMD is Raj Bhat. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And our old friend returning, Mr. Dave Morera. Dave, welcome back.
Hey, guys. Well, happy to be back.
Dave, how you been?
Been busy. Been about 7 sessions this week. Losing my voice, as you can tell. Happy to talk about some hardware and some of the announcements that we made this week. So pretty cool stuff coming down the pike.
Absolutely. Yeah. This at the general session, we announced support for AMD Instinct GPUs, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that is and what it differs from what we already had. So maybe we can start with that, Dave.
Yeah. So right now with Private AI, obviously we have partnership with other vendors, and what customers are asking us is, hey, what else can I do? Do I need options? Because obviously my management wants to cut costs, or we want to look at performance differences. And Private AI, our software will stay the same, right? It will work and leverage different types of hardware, but giving our customers that flexibility of choosing their preferred vendor for hardware is very important to them, right? And that's one of the reasons why we have been talking to AMD and say, hey, let's do this. You got cool stuff. We want to do more with you. So
I would say the rise of AMD, in the server data center has been fantastic to watch. I managed some Opterons, but there weren't that many of them back then. But
I know.
Watching the CPU and now the GPU, adoption within the market has been incredible. Let's talk about some of these new options. What are specific? What's coming under support?
So the announcement, we talked about supporting AMD GPUs, the Instinct GPUs, specifically the MI350.
Okay.
And very, very high in performance, cost effective, and we definitely want to use those for Private AI Foundation, right? So within our workflows, just need a couple tweaks here and there to include an additional GPU as part of the workflows that still automates, makes the deployment easy for our customers for Private AI workflows. And so, leverage our own software with really cool hardware, and that's one of the announcements that we made.
Okay, and Raj, maybe you can help me understand, what are some of the high-level specs on these?
Yeah, so just a little bit of history, right? So we started out with MI100. It's the CDNA architecture from AMD. C stands for compute, and it was a trademark CDNA so that we look at data center kind of applications and workloads. MI100 was the first of the series, and MI100 and MI200 was supported with vSphere 7.0 U3, also carried forward into vSphere 8. And now we come out with MI300. And MI300 is more focused on the generative AI kind of workloads, right? That's the intersection where everybody wants to be at right now. And thanks to VMware, we have now supported MI300 with some of our specific server OEMs. The listing went out on Broadcom compatibility guide last week. And MI300, and going forward, MI350, for which we'll be supporting private AI kind of workloads. The specs are fantastic, right? So MI350 has like 288 gigabytes of memory.
Oh, wow.
So that can fit almost, all of these huge 70 billion kind of meta models in just one GPU, right? And it has close to, I think, 20 petaflops of, capacity. And when we supply these GPUs, we currently do that in what we call a UBB form factor, which is 8 GPUs together that go onto the motherboard and in a standard format. And that allows customers to deploy a small workload or a large workload all in one box.
So you can either chop it up into multiple models, one on each card, or because it's all tied together, you've got some type of high-speed interconnect, I'm guessing.
In the hardware, you have ability to do SRIOE. and you have the ability to partition it so that you can just expose one GPU, cluster of 4 GPUs, or all 8 GPUs.
So
looking at one.
SRIOV is my virtualization tool where I can basically chop a PCIe device into sub-devices.
Yes.
Device
And then-
virtualization extensions, DVX.
I'm familiar with it from networking, like the telco weirdos would do like chop network functions.
But this is what
that's the same
customers.
standard.
That's what
Yeah.
customers
Yeah.
are asking for, right? They
Yeah.
want that DVX capability of slicing and dicing a GPU.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't need 8. Maybe they need 1. Maybe they need a fractional GPU, and that's what they're
Tendency
looking
of hardware
for.
through SRIOV. I like
Yes,
it.
yes,
So
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's also what was going to be my question. Was right that these M1 350s are there specific use cases that are better, or is it broken down by use case, or what are the different use cases that people are using?
AMD focuses on specific use cases to start out, right? But the industry is changing so rapidly, it's really hard to keep up. Although the silicon does take time to come out and mature, AMD has been releasing GPUs almost on a yearly cadence now in order to keep up with the industry demand.
oh wow,
right?
that's a lot
So,
faster than
yeah.
it used to be. I mean, I've watching networking people go from 3-year to 2-year cadences, but 2-year to
1 year,
to
yeah.
1 year is
I
brutal.
know, yeah. So the optimizations specifically for MI350 has been the floating point kind of precisions, right? We now have introduced FP6 and FP4 kind of precisions. Earlier it used to be like FP16 and higher. Now we found out that you can optimize the model better if you have some of the lower FP rates and still get the kind of accuracy that customers are looking for. So that helps with reducing the size of the model on the final customer deployment and their ability to free up memory for other things.
So is this primarily for inference, for taking existing models and consuming is primarily the use case versus actually just trying to go train and build my own giant model? Or
You can do either, right?
Okay.
So typically customers go down the road of deploying a model and then fine-tuning it for their requirements.
Okay.
And based on the size of the model, they get larger content capacity to do bigger things. The smaller ones may be able to just give a one-line response. The larger models may be able to write out an essay for you, summarize like big chunks of documents and stuff like that. So based on what the use case is, the customers end up deploying the model of a particular size and then fine-tuning it for their requirements. They can train it to say, customize your answers for my company's documents instead of just giving things out from Google.
this is interesting because when AI first came out, and there kind of was the early model race, and before there were these actually really objectively good open source models getting dropped, I feel like a lot of it was like, wow, I can't really do AI because I don't have the budget to get 4,000
Exactly.
GPUs, and I
Yeah.
can't do development in AI because of that. But it sounds like so much of the work is more downstream tuning and inferencing work.
And
which
it's actually very accessible now, right? With models such as DeepSeek, you are able to run it on CPUs. You don't need GPUs anymore.
I ran a quad model on my Mac.
I've had my colleagues run some of these models on their laptops.
Yeah.
Right, because your laptops has like 8 to 16 cores now. So, that is something. And there have been advances because AMD also makes, client parts which go into laptops and phones. We have introduced additional instructions and smart PCs which are capable of doing AI on the edge, right, on the laptop itself. So AI is very accessible now.
Nice. So how do you actually take advantage of all this stuff? Like, what kind of software do you use?
So specifically for server hardware and for the solutions like private AI, we utilize this solution called ROCM. It's an open ROCM, right? It's Radeon Open Compute Model, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And
There's a test at the end of this, so
I know. And I failed it already. So what that is an open source software, a framework that allows for developers to then add their customizations for their specific applications. Right now, the bigger models, AMD does that. They go ahead and say, we're going to take up something like a Llama model, and we are going to fine-tune ROCM such that the meta models run perfectly good on any of our instant line of products.
So I don't have to. It's not my job to figure out how to get Llama to work well on AMD. Yeah. It's got to figure out which driver to pair with that, or
Yeah, and that's all part of the automation within VMware Cloud Foundation, Private AI, right? VM Private AI. So some of the workloads that we have is to include and create deep learning VMs that include ROCM already. with the drivers, everything you need, your libraries, all that stuff that you need to deploy. So once you deploy it, then you can leverage VCF private AI services on top of that too.
This sounds like we're coming out of the science fair experiment phase, where like people had to figure out which model for their workload.
Look at this
and their
blog,
model.
that blog. No, click a button. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a menu now, almost, right? If you go through workflows, you deploy your VM, you choose what you want, what model do you want, what tools do you need. Leverage ROCM, NVIDIA GPUs, and then you go, AMD GPUs, and go from there, right? So you have different options there. You can even deploy it on CPUs right now from our own workflows.
Yeah.
But you talked about the software, and so how much is that subscription based? How does that work?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So AMD has better performance because of just the raw hardware characteristics, but we are also offering all of the solution, open source for free, right?
So it can be so I don't buy the hardware and then have to pay a bunch of pay for the hardware again and subscription fees. So
the customers who are buying it right now have to go through that science experiment kind of trouble, where they have to figure out what kind of software they have to use, which ROCM version they have to use, etc. Once that's integrated into VMware Private AI Foundation, it's going to be seamless, right? And all the costs will be embedded within either the hardware and or VMware Cloud Foundation.
That's awesome. So I want to buy these. What's my consumption path? Do I just go buy these as discrete cards and try to, with this special form factor, and shove them in? Where do I find servers for this?
Yeah. So right now, AMD is focused on delivering the UBB form factor that I mentioned before, where 8 GPUs are connected to each other and they go into a single box. So you can purchase some of those boxes through our OEMs. I believe that Supermicro is already shipping some, and that's listed on the BCG. There's also offerings from Dell that currently have for MI300 based, and I'm sure that all of these OEMs will do a refresh.
So this is a discrete box of 8 GPUs that will attach to my server?
No, it's embedded into the server.
Oh, it's embedded in the server.
So it's all in the box. You just order the specific SKU, and
is this air-cooled or is this liquid-cooled?
It's air-cooled.
Wow. So that's air-cooled.
Yeah, with 300, up to MI300, we have air-cooled versions only. But with MI350, we will have air-cooled as well as water-cooled version.
Okay.
So with the same platform of 8 GPUs. Okay.
The UBB form
I don't
factor.
have to go. I can get into this without having to go retrofit my data center and
exactly
call someone in the facilities and say, I want cold water, and he laughs at me and tells me,
He's like, here's your bottle, go.
Exactly.
So go with it.
Do they work? It's a serious question though. Can you only need AMD CPUs, or can you leverage Intel CPUs as well?
Yeah, the Dell boxes I was mentioning right now are Intel based.
Intel based.
So
okay.
yeah, we work with. When we are a CPU vendor, we work with all kinds of software and Intel NICs and potentially other competitors' hardware, including NVIDIA GPUs. While we are a GPU provider, we work on any platform.
That makes sense. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Open
AMD's
systems. This isn't a mainframe, so
exactly. Yeah. We believe that when customers have choice, we all benefit.
Absolutely. So Dave, you've been here all week and you've been presenting many sessions this week. Have you had any sessions around this technology, around some of the announcements?
Yeah, I had sessions on hardware, which were actually pretty popular. John and I did one on Monday morning, and I had a few meet the experts, and a lot of the conversations were around memory tiering, obviously, because it's new for us, but also GPUs, right? What options? What can I do as far as virtualizing my GPUs without licensing? So that was one of the biggest questions I got over and over. So I'm happy that now AMD is helping us with this. But yeah, a lot of interesting hardware again for some reason, right?
Absolutely. What about you, Raj? Have you had any customer conversations around this technology, or any things that are maybe new that you didn't realize? Or?
We turn things around, right? We ask the customers what are they looking for, what do they want to do with AI, right? Because we want to learn and figure out what their use case is, and that gives us a better understanding of whether the form factors that we currently are shipping are adequate for that, or we need to go smaller or larger accordingly.
I need to generate, a video overlay of my missing hat for this podcast.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
So are there any,
sure
you may not know, may not be able to respond to this, but are there any plans on creating a PCIe card with just one GPU?
Yeah, well, that's on the roadmap, to be fair, right? But the challenge is we want to understand from the customers whether that is something that they really want to go forward. Right. If you look at all of the models and the kind of use cases that customers are doing, they're looking for bigger ways to accomplish this, right? They're thinking of more than one system connected through a specific network interconnect in order to get their AI kind of jobs going. And on the other side, we are also embedding AI technology into all of the laptops that we make. So we're thinking the smaller customers may be
They'll
happy.
use the consumer line for that small dev loop. be able to work
So
with
we are
APIs.
still
What's the use case?
evaluating,
What's
yeah.
the use case for on the laptop? Like,
So Microsoft has already come out with Windows versions that are AI friendly, right?
Okay.
And they call them AI PCs. So you're able to do a lot of these AI, specific software knobs. They're waiting for the software ecosystem to catch up, but the software now has the ability to talk to the hardware and get AI instructions.
oh wow.
So this is on your CPUs. They're running AI. So are there any low-level servers with that type of CPUs?
We keep improving on our technology and adding instruction sets that are AI friendly. So some of them are being developed into our next line of server products called Venice. Some of that is already available with VMware because we are jointly working with them to enable some of those instructions and utilize them in their workloads.
So for inferencing, that would be a perfect use case for,
Yes,
for that type
yeah.
of servers.
I do love that all your CPU lines have these like Italian themes, but Pete probably would like to know when Como will be the next product line.
Yes, Lake
so-
Como, please.
Well, if you've given us the idea, I'm sure somebody out there
We name it
heard
after Pete.
Yeah.
Va bene.
We call
tutto
it
posto.
the Flecha CPU.
You can tell with the number of products that we're having, we're running out of cities. So
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, Raj, Dave, this has been really good information. We're going to leave links to the announcement and the blogs on the show notes of this podcast. So please remember to subscribe. And Dave, Raj, thanks for joining us on Virtually Speaking.
thank you
guys.
very much for having us.